On Sunday, Michael Vick will make his return to the NFL for the first time since the end of the 2006 season. But what will he be doing for the Eagles? Say how are you, folks? Jason Horowitz, CBSSports.com, NFL columnist Clark Judge, CBS Sports, Ian Eagle. Glad to be with you on the End Zone here on CBSSports.com. The band is back together. The three of us are back together.
Yes.
And how about the fact that Michael Vick is going to be back in the NFL? It's something we've known for a while. But with the fact that the Eagles lost this week and Kevin Kolb turning it over, should we expect at all this weekend to see Michael Vick play quarterback?
I don't expect to see him play quarterback this weekend. I'll tell you why. Because I think it's a potential disruption to when Donovan McNabb comes back here. I think Kevin Kolb's the #2 quarterback. He threw for 391 yards last week. And if there was a complaint after that game, it was that the Wildcat was sort of disrupting what he was able to do. They're going to play the Wildcat, and I assume and expect that Michael Vick's going to be the guy, but not for very long. I expect he's going to get somewhere from 10 to 15 snaps today on Sunday.
Andy Reid is very creative, we know that, and the element of surprise is certainly going to be in play here with Michael Vick. He is not even close to being ready to running this Philadelphia offense. Kevin Kolb is the quarterback, we know that. If Donovan McNabb can't go, there's a reason why Jeff Garcia was brought into the Philadelphia Eagles, and that's because they know that Michael Vick cannot handle everything that goes into running this offense and executing this offense. Can he be a part of it? I think so. That's where Andy Reid's coaching is going to come into play, integrating it and not allowing it to become a distraction for a team that very well could make some noise in the NFC this year.
And that's the other part, though. You brought up a good point, the Wildcat, because we saw what Miami was able to do with it on Monday night against Indianapolis. But we also saw that Philadelphia, yeah, they ran it with Deshaun Jackson and Brian Westbrook,
right.
and it didn't work the way that Miami. Does it work better with Michael Vick? Do they have to really run that?
Well, it could. I think they'll try to see what happens here. I mean, I was at the first game where they played Michael Vick this summer, and they brought him in for a play here, a play there. Never for the Wildcat, but I've talked to people who say in the Wildcat, inside the 20, he's impossible to stop. So why not give it a shot and see what happens? Because Westbrook's banged up, Deshaun Jackson's banged up. He's the perfect guy. But I think Ian's right. They brought in Jeff Garcia for a reason. You know, Jeff Garcia's the safety net for Kevin Kolb. Michael Vick's not.
Yeah. And it's great for the 11 o'clock news highlights. I don't know if it's going to necessarily translate into winning, and I think that's the balance that Philadelphia has to determine whether or not they're willing over the long haul to see if Michael Vick is part of the solution here for Philly breaking through and being one of the elite teams in the NFL this year. Look, I saw him in the preseason take on the Jets. First half, they used him more in that hybrid role. Second half, they let him play quarterback. And as we know with Michael Vick, there are plays that he can create, and there are plays that he believes he can create and ends up becoming negative plays because he thinks he can do something. And let's face it, teams are ready for it now, more so than they have been in the past.
One thing to bring up, though, is that it's an interesting point, is that having Michael Vick on the roster, you're not going to list him as your third quarterback.
Right.
Because if he is, and he comes into the ball game, that means your first two quarterbacks can't play the rest of the game until you get to the fourth quarter. So he has to take a roster spot from someone else. Is that an issue at all here? I mean, that you're going to have three active quarterbacks and maybe you lose a receiver, maybe you take away a safety, somewhere else on the field here.
Well, I think it's an issue, but it's a positive issue to me for Philadelphia because McNabb wants weapons. This guy's a weapon. You can put him at wide receiver. You can put him at running back. You can play him anywhere you want. In the Wildcat, as we mentioned, to me, it's perfectly suited for him, but you got to pick your spots. I think that Andy Reid's got to be very careful here. He's walking a tightrope because McNabb is always the subject of controversy in Philadelphia, and you don't want to threaten him. And to me, as long as Andy's there, that's not going to happen. But this is a potential distraction. And if you suit him up at quarterback and he's successful, or if McNabb fails, you know, as he did last year in midseason, people will be saying, hey, put Vick in. That's not what's going to happen.
I'm still a little bit up in the air as to why they made this call. Now, obviously, they're trying to stockpile talent. Is this really a decision they made for the future to see if Michael Vick is the answer down the road, or is this a 2009 issue that they believe Michael Vick can help put them over the top? I'm not sure Philadelphia knows that right now, and obviously this is the start, and there's going to be a lot of discussion over the course of the year. Let's see how Andy Reid massages the egos and handles everybody in that locker room. I know Vick comes in very humble right now. Donovan McNabb wants to be a winner, wants to end his Philly career on a high note, but ultimately I think they're going to have some bigger decisions to make down the road as opposed to 2009.
One thing that's for sure, wins cure a lot of things.
Sure.
They start with the Chiefs with Michael Vick in the roster. A loss to Kansas City You're going to hear a lot more rumblings than you're hearing right now. For more on the End Zone, be sure to check out the other segments. Who's the best 2-0 team, and which team that lost in Week 1 but won in Week 2 is more genuine? We're going to talk about all that on the End Zone. Clark Judge and Ian Eagle, I'm Jason Horowitz. Take care, folks.